Welcome back to BK Nothing But Nuts podcast. I am joined with my co-host John. John, it's another brutal loss to the Clippers. We lost to them early in the season, 126-67. I don't even know. That's ridiculous. But today, a little closer, 132-100. So the two games we played against Houston, we've been outscored someone who's good at math, 265 to 167. So we've been outscored by about 100 points in two games.
Wow.
What comment on that? Your thoughts on the game and why such embarrassing losses?
Yeah, as disgusting as those numbers sound, the reason why we made it slightly closer is because of Drew Timme and Tosa for Walmart or X Factors. But yeah, listen, the Clippers have definitely given us some big kicks this year, and they've been dominating us. So it was kind of like on for the par. But yeah, like last night, you saw a lot of people get a lot of minutes, especially the young guys who we've been advocating for. But even then, it's like when you have Johnson, Claxton, D'Lo still giving you 20 minutes, and some of these young guys giving you 8 to 10 minutes. It's like we're out of the playoffs officially. Let these young guys get 20 minutes apiece and let them see what they can do. Jordy's mission statement the last 8 games is who could the next net potentially be? And I thought Drew Timme in his first time up yesterday definitely showed what he can do. Is a double-double, first career game. He definitely looked focused out there. Didn't look too overwhelmed. Even his comments, he's like, "These guys look like NBA 2K players, and I want to be that someday." But Drew Timme definitely gave this team a little spark. But yeah, we definitely got our ass kicked, and I know some people are kind of like upset about that. But this was on par for the course this year. But the fun starts this summer when we actually get to officially build a team. So and just try to get through these last few games, and the summer's where the real fun starts, and we can start building this team up the right way for sure.
To me, this up that you want to use. Well, I got like two thoughts. Like I originally was like, this is what you should do. But then you look at it and you see Cam Johnson and all these guys are playing. I'm going to keep saying this. First off, we'll do this again. There's no Dayron Sharp, but I'll still show you Nick Claxton. But Claxton played 20 amongst 8. This is so bad. This is so bad. This is a disgusting game. This is disgusting. This is our team, John. But you're still playing Cam Johnson, D'Angelo Russell. You're playing these guys this many minutes, and they're starting. Now, I'm not totally unhappy. If you look at everybody, I mean, everyone who ever wore a net uniform played last night. Wofford, Timme, Wilson, Derek Whitehead, Toshan from Walmart, Maxwell Lewis, Tyrese Martin, Reese Beekman, Tyson Etienne. Killian Hayes got in the game?
Nah, I think he's the only one who didn't play. Yeah, he didn't
It
play.
doesn't say did not play. It says 0 minutes.
He had an ankle injury. I think he suffered in the G League, so I don't think they're going to play him right now. I think he's dealing with an injury, unfortunately.
Why does it have him? Why does it have him listed? All right. Yeah, I didn't say I'm gonna ignore that. But the rest of the guys, Tyson Etienne, Drew Timme made their pro debuts. What aren't these guys playing more? And why are D'Lo and Cam Johnson playing at all? Seriously, why? I mean, it's 19 and 20 minutes, but why are they starting and why are they playing at all?
And this again just comes down to Jordy. He's really in control of what goes on as far as the players go, who's playing, who's not playing. And I guess in his mind, having veterans to mentor these young guys to help them get through their minutes is what he wants to do. I understand that, but they could do that in gym clothes on the sidelines and be honorary assistant coaches. Let him mentor them from there and let these young guys get at least 20 minutes a game to show what they can really do. We're in player evaluation mode. Why do I have to evaluate Claxton getting dominated by Zubats last night? I mean, Claxton got dominated so badly. I think one of my friends said he had to grab Zubats by the jersey just to try to stop him. Like, I don't need to see Claxton's value hit the crap any more than they already have seen it. Even with Johnson, if we're going to trade him this summer, why are we still playing him? And his numbers are still looking pretty average like they used to. So, and even D'Lo, oh, that's a nightmare. Like, these guys should just be coaching from the sidelines with the assistant coaches, letting these young guys get the burn. So if Jordy wants to run with these guys mentoring, okay, but it kind of contradicts the message of we're trying to find who the next net can be. I don't understand what Jordy's trying to do there, but we're almost done with the season, so I'll just deal with it at this point and let the results be what they're going to be.
I want to address this real quick, and not to get off topic, but Alan wants to know about St. John's legend RJ Lewis. Is he a first rounder or does he build his stock in the transfer portal? Alan's asking about the SEC, but I was just expanding the question to the transfer portal role. Is RJ Lewis going to go in the first round or is he going to go back to college and hit the transfer portal?
RJ Lewis is an interesting prospect. I've heard nothing about him being like a top lottery prospect, but he could probably definitely up there with some other prospects. We'll probably talk about that in some future videos about who could potentially be outside of that lottery, but could still definitely make an impact. I think Lewis, he's definitely going to be a guy to watch out for, maybe in the later portion of the draft for sure. But everything from what I heard so far, I haven't seen him being a top lottery pick.
I've seen him as a second rounder. Then you have a decision to make. Does his stock go up? Does he go back to college, go to a different situation without Patino, and then not become a draft pick at all? It's an interesting question because I've seen him in all mocks and projected as a second rounder. Now, there's no guaranteed contract as a second rounder, which is a tough situation to be in. He was not considered a pro prospect going into this season at all. And then he had a monster season, and he put himself on everybody's radar. It's interesting to see what he does. I've not seen him as a first, Allen, and I've heard rumors of him going to the transfer portal, but nothing has been confirmed or denied on that. So to me, I think it's either a second round pick or he goes to the transfer portal. And I don't know. I don't know what school that could be. All right. The other thing I wanted to ask is D'Lo shooting. D'Lo has about 27-20 shooting splits over the last 10 games. Not what you want. What do you think? Do you think he's going to be back with the Brooklyn Nets next year? And is this prolonged cold streak something to worry about? If he's going to be back next year.
First of all, I think we could put the conversation of 15 mil to bed. Like, he is not getting $15 million from Brooklyn Nets. I'm sorry. The way he's given this type of production levels, the fact he's already made his generational wealth. If he wants to come back in a mentorship role, take your 11 to 12 million and deal with it. But if he wants anything more, what are we doing here? Like, as soon as Thomas came back, whatever D'Lo was showing you kind of just went to the wayside. He just became very invisible and is kind of doing what he's normally done. If he doesn't have the ball in his hand and is scoring, what else does D'Lo do to help this team? Not a whole lot. So if we draft a point guard with our lottery pick, or if we get a backup potential point guard with one of our draft picks, I don't see the point of bringing D'Lo back. And Wofford, I know he plays a little point guard too. If he's been playing way better than D'Lo, I'll give him that. I'll give Wofford that. He's had way better numbers than D'Lo's had since he's come back to this team. So, like, D'Lo, for me, is like one of those last guys that I would want on the team next year because he's probably going to try to ask for a bag because of his resume. But his resume is not really what it's cracked up to be from what we've seen. So, yeah, I just don't think D'Lo fits our timeline or our mold. I'd rather sign a Killian Hayes to a $5 or $8 million contract for 2 years than give D'Lo 15 mil for a year or a year and a half, anything like that. So I just hope at the end of the day, when the season's over, we just let D'Lo go wherever he wants to go to figure out his career and just move forward, because I don't see D'Lo bringing anything more than nostalgia at this point.
Look, you want to trade Cam Johnson, right, in the offseason? You do need to have some veteran on the team. I'm not giving him no $15 million. I don't even know what a contract with D'Lo would look like. I bet minimum at this point. I don't know what he's going to be offered, right? He's a problem in the playoffs, right? Like he's not really playable in the playoffs. So I don't know. I'd be interested in keeping him. The shooting has become a concern because it's not just a couple of cold games. This has like been 10 games now. He's just horrible, brutal.
Very bad.
I would be interested in a conversation and bringing him back. I'm not saying I'm committed to bringing him back. The next thing I wanted to ask is why have we not used this roster, this lineup, where we play everybody? You know, everybody gets in the game. Why have we not been doing this all season, or at least most of the season? You know, the Tyson Etienne's, the Drew Timme's, the Derek Whiteheads. Why did we wait till now, March 28th, to start doing this? Shouldn't we have gotten these guys minutes all season long?
Great question. This goes back to the video I asked you to show everybody, our last video, where Sean Marks talked about the direction this year, that everybody has to be lockstep, from the coaches to the players, to the assistant. Everybody has to be on the same message. And so far, since the season began, the message has been all over the damn place. Jordy was running the ship from day one because he told Sean Marks, I still want to compete. I don't want to tank any games. And I think we have something that could potentially ruffle some feathers. And boy, did it ruffle feathers, Brooklyn Nets fans and the NBA, because nobody knew what the hell the Nets were doing. Everybody thought the Nets were going to be a bottom team this year. And we were, Gary, we're a half a game out of a play-in spot about 3 weeks ago. Like the communication style is so all over the place for this Brooklyn Nets front office that the message this year has just been screwy. It really has been. Like we were actually at one point tied with the Hornets for fourth best odds, and then we went on a winning streak in February. We were a half a game out of playing spot. So Gary, you ask why they haven't done this yet? Because the front office doesn't have control right now. Jordy seems to have a lot of power, and I think it's a little weird to give a first-year coach so much power. And he's done a great job with defensive program, building some type of culture. But at the end of the day, the front office, you make the decisions. If these vets who should not be playing 30 minutes a night should not be playing, it's up to you to tell the coach, listen, rest these guys. We have some young guys on this team we want to get run, see if they could be a future net. Instead, you let Jordy run the ship most of the year. It wasn't until we were a half a game out of a playing spot that this front office had a bottle of scotch with Jordan. It's like, listen, our lottery pick is what matters right now. We cannot be winning meaningless games, potentially being a playing spot and losing our lottery pick. That is our best shot right now this summer as far as building this future up the right way and having something as a base. And that's been Brooklyn's problem. We've been invested in the star hunt for so long that we've lost track of how to build a team the right way. So, yeah, Gary, the message has been all over the damn place this year, and it feels like too little too late. But, hey, we have the fifth or sixth odds now to get a lottery pick, so we'll see what happens. But, yeah, this could have been a lot more simpler if everybody was on the same message. But unfortunately, with this front office, that message has not been complied for multiple seasons. So that's kind of what makes it such a crap show at the end of the day.
I'm having some shit. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Gary. Your things was a little frozen.
Yeah, I'm having some internet issue. I may have to start this now. Let me see how this is going. All right. Give me 1 second. All right, we should be good. We should be good. Yeah. We're good. Yeah. I mean, John, can you talk about
Yeah, Gary, just come back out and come back in again. All right, guys. Well, my co-host Gary's trying to fix his signal and then I'll get back to what we're talking about. Listen, at the end of the day, the message for this front office this year has just been kind of all over the place. So either we were tanking at one point or we're competing for something. And at the end of the day, you want this whole team to be united on what the goal was. The goal was to protect your lottery pick and start building the structure of this team the right way. Now, listen, if through the craziness of this year, we somehow have fifth best odds. The Bucks pick is looking good. Things are starting to line up a bit, but still at the end of the day, it's 50-50 gamble on what happens with this draft. But if we get a top 6 pick and that Bucks pick becomes something valuable, we can definitely work with that and try to build this team up the right way this summer. I think for the Brooklyn Nets, this is the most important summer in Brooklyn Nets history. Like we have to figure out who's going to be on this team, who's not going to be on this team, what these draft picks are going to be. Do they fit our timeline and all that? Like there are a lot of questions and a lot of fun answers potentially to be found this summer. But for the Brooklyn Nets, it starts with this draft. Then you look at free agency. Do you want to do a sign and trade? Do you want to bring in some expiring salary and draft picks? Like the Nets have different routes they can go with. And I think for the Nets right now, it's just try to build the structure and the nucleus up. And that starts with this draft. And it'll be interesting to see how it all turns out for the Brooklyn Nets. But yeah, just getting back to Drew Timme for a second. Listen, shout out to Ice Eskimo. Like I call him our head scout of player development. He was talking about Drew Timme for a lot. I know Drew Timme had a recent 50-point performance in the G League. This guy's been saying this year that I want to get called up. I want to be in the big league with the big boys, and he made the most of his debut last night. He really showed what he's got. I mean, he had 11 points, 10 rebounds, his first double-double of his career. That's impressive for Drew Timme, and he definitely showed that he wants to be here. Now, me and Gary are going to get into this a bit. What is Drew Timme's future how does it impact the centers on this
Computer
team?
real quick. I don't know what's going on.
Wait, what, Gary? Trying to get. Hey, oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna reset my computer and see if that works. I don't know what's going on with my internet. This is weird. All right.
all right,
You
all
just
right.
talk about the tank.
All right, Gary, I got this. All right, all right. So just get back to Drew Timme. He definitely had a good night last night. I think people were wondering what is his future lie with Brooklyn. Well, he was signed to a 2-year, two-way contract, so it's under a two-way. And you wonder, like, what happens with Day'Ron Sharp's future this year? I mean, there's a lot of unknowns there with Day'Ron because he's due for a contract. He's restricted. I believe he's a restricted free agent. So do the Nets see value in Day'Ron? And the problem is he hasn't. He started the season out injured. Then he came back. He actually started playing some very good games. He had some better plus and minuses than Claxton for a good part of the season. But with Drew Timme, you definitely have an unknown there, but a lot of potential because he does play the center position. So if the Nets feel like Drew Timme could be part of that future, and if we draft another big in this draft, do you do a sign and trade with Day'Ron this summer? That's something to definitely look out for. So for Drew Timme's last 8 games, keep doing what you're doing, show what you can do, and try to earn that title of being the next net on this team. So let me see how Drew Timme does. But yeah, just getting back to like this year with the tank. Listen, it's as crazy as the front office has been with communication this year. To have the 5th or 6th odds to get a top flyer pick, not a bad position to be in. To that Bucks pick, we talk about how great the Bucks pick is looking, guys. Last night was the you can't call it more than a perfect night. I mean, every team that needed to win and every team that needed to lose with that Bucks pick, it happened. The Pistons, they beat the Cavs without Kate Cunningham and Tobias Harris. That was a shocker right there. And then you had the Timberwolves put a beating on the Suns, and then you had Warriors take care of business against the Pelicans. And how ironic is it? The Knicks, who gave us that huge hole for Bridges, and a lot of the fans were saying the Nets weren't going to get no picks of value. They're nothing more than 25, 26 type picks. Well, this Bucks pick is now at 17. So if the season ends and that pick is around 17, 18, woo! A lot of good to work with that Bucks pick. So yeah, as crazy as it's been, where the fan base has been divided this year, there's definitely some stuff to really feel good about as far as the season goes. With the lottery pick, with the Bucks pick, and even the Rockets and the Knicks pick, even though they're near like 26 to 30, something like that, the picks are like right next to each other. Having 2 picks back to back definitely gives the Nets some bargaining power. They maybe want to trade up with one of those picks, or where they actually want to trade back. Maybe there's players in that second round that they might really like as well. So I do believe those 2 later picks have some value as well. So I think the picks are shaping up to be where the Nets didn't know where they were going to be this year, but I think they're shaping up to be at a better place than they probably originally thought a few weeks ago when they thought they had a shot at being in the play-in. So it'll be very interesting to see just what happens on May 12th when we figure out where we're drafting at. So that's going to be a lot of fun for sure. But yeah, just kind of getting back to what's going on with the vets right now. So yeah, Cam Johnson, he played 20 minutes last night, 11 points. Claxton, he played 20 minutes at 6 points. And then D'Lo, who we were kind of talking about, played 19 minutes at 5 points. At the end of the day, just the season's over. The vets, we kind of already know where their values are at. Why not just rest them and let the young guys get more minutes? The fact that Maxwell Lewis has been playing good lately, only gets 8 minutes, frustrating. Reese Beekman. I know everybody doesn't like Reese Beekman. He gives you no offense whatsoever. But in these last 8 games, let's see what Reese Beekman can do. Cuckoo! Like he should be getting at least 15 minutes. He only got 7. And this new guy, Etn, he played 10 minutes. He was actually 2 from 5 from 3. So he should be getting more minutes. Like what me, Gary, and the others want is just for these young guys to get that 15 to 20 minutes to see if they can hold the potential spot on this team next year. Like Jordy said, it's about finding out who the next net is. Well, with Johnson, Claxton, D'Lo playing those extra minutes, how are we going to know if Maxwell Lewis, Ed, ETN, or Beekman could be that next net if they're not getting adequate minutes these last 8 games? So I kind of hope that gets settled and we see the young guys just get more burn. Even if the results aren't what they wanted to be, let these young guys play and let them see what they can do. Drew Timme got minutes and he showed what he could do with 25 minutes. So hopefully these young guys get that adequate type of time to see what they can really do. Ah, but yeah, Zaire Williams, he had a disappointing night last night. A minus 32, 6 points. Listen, Zaire's had a few bad games this year, but overall, very consistent this year. Defensively, gave you so much edge. I don't know if you guys remember preseason, he nearly bounced into an announcer's table. Zaire Williams has definitely been a more freestyle type player on this team. Like with Memphis, he said he himself felt like he was trapped, felt like he didn't know what type of style he wanted to be on that team. With this team, he's definitely give you that defensive grit that Jordy's wanted. Offensively, the 3 point shot has been much better this year. I think he has the best 3 point shooting percentage on the team since January. So even though Zaire's had some bad games here or there, overall has been very consistent. I think he's definitely got a great shot of getting a contract with the Nets this year. It'll be very interesting to see what the overall numbers are, but something around a 3 year contract with a 10 million salary or $11 million salary is not a bad deal at all. And Zaire definitely is a part of the defensive identity Jordy's trying to create. So it'll be interesting to see if we keep him in the summer and what more can he add to his game as he tries to keep evolving on Brooklyn. Trent Wofford, listen, I know some people are high on Wofford given what he's done. We still don't know what his role is on his team. I know he identifies as a point guard, combo power forward, but let's remember, if we resign a D'Lo on this team to be the backup point guard, that takes away Wofford's role there. And if we resign Zaire to be a forward on this team, takes away Wofford's role a bit. So I know some people are high on Wofford, but his future really depends on who we draft this summer, who from this core we actually do keep, and do their role kind of coincide with what the role that Wofford wants in this team. And as well, Wofford's never gotten a big contract, so if he stays on his team, he's probably making a salary around 8 to 10 mil. Gary's back.
All right, hang on. All right, I should be good now. Everything, like my power went out for a minute. Like everything went out for a minute. I don't know what's going on, but I think I'm back now. I think I'm good. Like it went out everywhere, and then now I'm back in. I think we're good. I think we're good.
Woo! Thank gosh, Gary. I was trying to talk about everything without talking about everything.
Yeah, that's my bad. Hang on. Let me close this out. All right. All right. All right. We should be good. We should be
All
good.
right.
I think we're good. All right. Sorry about that. I had obviously some internet issues. My power went out for like 30 seconds. I was trying to figure out what the hell that was. But I believe we're good now. I believe we're good.
Woo! All right.
I do believe we're good. All right. I'm trying to catch up, but we're back. All right. So I wanted to talk about. We talked about using everybody, emptying the bench. I'm a fan of it. I'm not sure why we're using more. John, what did you touch on, and where did you leave off? Because I missed the last 7 minutes of the show.
Yeah, I was just trying to talk about some of the players. Talked about Timme a bit. I kind of talked about we would talk about with the vets that they played all these minutes and they had bad performances last night. They should be coaching these young guys, letting the young guys get more burn. I kind of just went over that a bit. Talked about Zaire. His night was bad, but overall he's still been a solid player this year as far as his development goes. So we just touched on those things a little bit. And, just kind of what we were talking about before you went off there for a bit is like, why are these vets playing so many minutes when we already know what their values are? With these young guys, we don't really know what their values could be on this team. And if they don't get at least 15, 20 minutes, how are we actually using player development as a platform right now when that's supposed to be the objective?
All right.
YOLO, you're sure, Chloe.
Is this true, John? Were you talking?
No, yeah, you can watch the recording for yourself, but if you want to believe that, that's your fault, Gary.
John said horrible things about me.
Yeah, he was eating breakfast without me, Lo. That's why his power went out. He was eating breakfast, and I didn't get a bite.
I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat breakfast. All right.
You don't know how to live, bro.
The next thing I wanted to spend some time on was obviously Drew Timme. This is a guy that's been absolutely killing the G League. He had a 40-piece, 50-piece. He was a G League Player of the Week. He's been dominating the G League. He got up, and he fit in. He looked good. I want to spend some time on on both him and Tyson Etienne. I forgot Tyson Etienne was alive. We signed him a while ago. But start with Drew Timme. How impressive was that?
Yeah, he looked very confident. He didn't look like too afraid or anything like that. Like he looked like he wanted to make the most of his minutes. He had a block on James Harden. He made a 3-point shot. Like he was just very active. He also threw out an assist as well. Like, he was just doing his role and trying to contribute and bring that energy. And I think it was everything that Jordy hoped he would bring on his first night. And I think Timmy's definitely making a case why he wants to be a future net on this team. So see more of what he can do and just keep bringing the energy, and the rest will work itself out. So that was a very impressive night. A double-double your first game, that's definitely sending a little message there.
I wanted to see this all, not all season, but I've wanted to see this since they traded for him. They traded Amari Bailey for him, so why not do this? You guys know how I felt about Amari Bailey. That was
Your
someone
guy.
They valued this guy enough to trade Amari Bailey for him. So why was he not up here earlier? Seriously, he's dominating the G League. There's no point in keeping him in the G League. We're at a deficit for bigs anyway. Why was he not up here earlier?
This goes back to the direction being so all over the place this year. We were literally half game out of a playing spot. And at that point, even before that, we should have been like, okay, we're gonna rest the vets a lot more. Young guys gonna come up and get these minutes. I said Drew Timme should have been up 20 or 30 games ago, but he wasn't. And unfortunately, I think this organization has this. You have to earn your rookie minutes, something like that. BS. I don't care. Our goal this year was to protect the lottery pick. These young guys should have been called up games ago to get as much run as possible to see what they can do. I guess now is a better time than ever, but with 8 games to go, Drew Timme definitely could have shown you a bit more in this season if he had actually gotten the time and the promotion a little earlier. But the front office just they don't control it right now. Jordy has to control, and Jordy wanted to trust the veterans more than the young guys, unfortunately. That's kind of what led to us waiting so long, it seems like.
So Day'Ron Sharpe was out. Is that it? Do you think we've seen the last? A two-part question. Have we seen the last of Day'Ron Sharpe this year? And have we seen the last of Day'Ron Sharpe as a Brooklyn Net?
Yeah, very unfortunate. If Day'Ron's season ends right now, I thought at this little stretch that he might actually start over Claxton. They would rest Claxton. He'd get to show what he was showing when he was starting in those few games and really meet that potential. But now he's injured, and now with Drew Timme getting called up, you wonder, how is Day'Ron's role affected by what Timme does? And you think about this: if we draft a center this summer, Timmy's still on the team under the two-way, and Claxton's still on the contract. What is Day'Ron's role? I don't think you could have 4 bigs on this team, and for Day'Ron's minutes to get even smaller, especially if Drew Timme shows he can add a bit more. So I think this summer with Day'Ron, you have to look at potentially now, if we don't keep Day'Ron, a sign and trade. He's a restricted free agent, and he does have some value. I don't think the Nets get anything more than maybe some second-round draft picks for Day'Ron, but there are definitely could be some teams that do need backups that would be interested in doing a sign and trade for Day'Ron. So with Timmy's ascension, you have to wonder, is Day'Ron a potential sign and trade piece, especially if the Nets can't get Claxton off this team? The way Claxton's value keeps sinking, unfortunately, it seems like Day'Ron might be the odd man out, even though Day'Ron has shown you some good things this season.
I wanted to touch on this. Our boy Dylan tweeted this out yesterday. I think it's worth mentioning. The Drew Timme signing tells me one thing, and follow Dylan at Nets Press IG over on Twitter. The Drew Timme signing tells me one thing: Brooklyn will draft a big man and let Day'Ron Sharpe go, or use him as a sign and trade piece to acquire future second-round draft capital. One potential deal I could see is Sharpe and pick 35 to Boston for their first-round pick. And I think, I think it works for everybody, right? Because the Celtics are going to be in a position where they're trying to compete for a championship every year. So they have a choice. They can get non-guaranteed seconds if they don't like him, they don't owe him any money. He doesn't have to go on the roster, and get Day'Ron a piece that they can use, or draft a 19-year-old who probably doesn't fit into their immediate plans and have to guarantee him a contract. Depending on what Day'Ron Sharpe gets, how much money he gets, does this trade make sense to you from I know it makes sense to our perspective if we're not going to keep him, but does it also make sense from a Boston Celtics perspective? I think it does.
Yeah, it's a very hypothetical. I know people can say, why would New York ever trade with Boston? Well, we trade with the Knicks. So this front office, it likes to do things very weird. So don't be surprised if that actually was a possibility. But you think about with the Celtics, they are one of the most expensive teams in the NBA right now. And with Tatum and Brown making almost over $1 billion together,
Yeah.
the Celtics are going to have to eventually move pieces on that team. You think of Porzingis or a Holiday, those contracts are lengthy and they're a lot older. So you wonder if they move those guys, who can they get to fill those roles? Al Horford as well. He's up there. His career is almost over. So, yeah, Day'Ron would make sense. He's a big that would probably fit their system. He rebounds. All he has to do is rebound and let Tatum and Brown cook. So, yeah, he definitely would fit on the team. What could they give us? If they're willing to give us that late Celtics first for Day'Ron, we go from having how many picks in that first round? 4 to 5? I'll take it. We could probably find somebody with that late Celtics pick. Maybe somebody that could have been in the second round. They now get picked with our first round pick from the Celtics. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing to think about. But I think there are even a few other teams who might have an interest in Day'Ron if they need a backup. So I think if the Nets do decide to move off Day'Ron, utilize it and get what you can get for Day'Ron because he definitely does have some value as a
You know who
backup in
else
the NBA.
would be interested in? I mean, I don't know if they're going to have the cap space for this, but the Knicks, they desperately need rebounding.
If they want to give us their last picks, I'll take it.
Yeah, what you got for me? You got anything left? But that was another team I thought could be interesting. I don't know if they would do that again with the Knicks. I don't know if the Knicks would trade with the Nets after what we just did to them with the Bridges trade.
Right. I mean, you can look at a team like Memphis. They had interest in Day'Ron. They might need a backup. Uh, there's a few teams that do need backups. So it'll be interesting to see what that market would be. And I definitely think the Nets could get maybe 2 second-round picks and whatever the salary has to be that Day'Ron gets in a sign and trade to match. So if we could get a few seconds and a contract for Day'Ron, take it at this point. I mean, if he's not a part of your future, get something back for him. Don't just let him walk for free. That's what the Nets can't do this summer.
Yeah, I don't think he'll walk for free. I think they'll get something for him. But do you think? That's it. Do you think he's played his last game as a Brooklyn Net? Do you think we'll see him again this year or next year?
It's hard because I think Day'Ron's made the case that if you traded Claxton, you could re-sign Day'Ron on the cheap. But if if the Lakers don't want him this summer, what are we left with, Gary? We can't trade Claxton at that point. So you have to pivot and go, hey, we got you, Timme. We could maybe get a center in this draft. Fortunately, what happens to Day'Ron? You sign and trade him. So I just feel like there's a numbers game against Day'Ron. Our timeline is against Day'Ron. The fact he missed most of the season hurt him a bit. So I just feel like a lot of things went against Day'Ron when last year, the year before, he was finally showing you what he can do. But since then, he hasn't been able to recapture that magic consistently. So if you can't get rid of Claxton this summer, unfortunately, Day'Ron might be the odd man out. That's just what it's looking like right now.
And it's unfortunate, too, because Day'Ron Sharpe has shown you that he's a rotational NBA player, that he belongs on the court, that he belongs in the NBA rotation. But this is the problem with the Claxton contract. The Claxton contract cripples you because you're going to pay Claxton $25 million next year. If you got to pay Sharpe $10 million, that's $35 million at the center position to get below average center play. So Sharpe's got to go. I got to hope Drew Timme outperforms his minimal deal. Right, but this is the problem. This is how bad the Claxton contract is. It cripples what you're going to do. So I have to pay Claxton $25 million, and that prohibits me from keeping Day'Ron Sharpe. You follow me? And now I have to draft the center because Claxton sucks. So I have to pay him $25 million. I can't keep Sharpe for contractual reasons, and now I have to go waste a pick on a center when I just signed my young center to $25 million next year. Do you see the problem with it? And this is why I said you have to trade him. Look what he does to your franchise.
Yeah, it's just horrible. And you just already talked about financials. We cannot have our center position having over $35 million owed to them when they're not even having good enough games consistently. That's a huge nightmare. But unfortunately, if the Lakers don't want to get him this summer, you have to kind of pivot there. And the crazy thing is, get rid of Day'Ron. He's probably the most traditional big we got on this team. So if we get rid of him and we draft another undersized big in this draft and not an actual 7-footer, our rebounding people is going to take a huge nosedive next year. And I know some people look at Claxton as rebounding being good. His rebounding hasn't been a difference maker this year at all, pretty much. So
do not tell me that for a 6'11" big man that Nick Claxton's a good rebounder. Don't tell me that. He's not.
Yeah, it hasn't made an impact. So even though we might have to get rid of Day'Ron this year, it's still going to be a bummer because we've already given you guys a scenario where it's way smarter to just hope that the Lakers take Claxton off your shoulders and you re-sign Day'Ron on the cheap and you can keep Timme and draft another big in the future. Then we could have, I know ways the comments have said, why can we have 3 centers? We could have 3 bigs. Drew Timme, Day'Ron, and whoever we draft. There you go. Win, win, win. But if Sean Marks can't get off of Claxton this summer because he wants 2 first-round draft picks for Claxton, it's on the organization's fault at that point. You're stuck paying this guy $60 million to give you bad numbers on consistent nights. So really, if Marks can get out of his head this summer and hopefully trade Claxton maybe a little less than we thought he could get for him, it actually helps you financially. We get financial flexibility a year from now because we probably get expiring salary for Claxton, and then you get a center of the future this summer. We can fix this situation. But the front office just sits on the hands and does nothing. We're stuck paying this guy $60 million to produce bad numbers on this team, which is just a nightmare scenario if it happens like that.
This Claxton contract is becoming not just a bad contract. It's becoming a hindrance to the rebuild of this organization. And that's why I've been so adamant is I don't care. I don't care what I get for him. Rui Hachimura, fine, done. And a second, done. I don't care. What just give me a bad contract that expires. Get this off the books because now we're stuck with this. And you guys keep telling it goes down every year. He sucks. Stop defending him. He's no good. He's no good. I like him. I liked him as a guy. I had no problem bringing him back. I said when they brought him back, that's too much money, and he's completely underplayed his contract. He's underperformed his contract. I don't hate the guy. Like I like him, but the contract is crippling the franchise. I wanted to address this comment. We're letting Dayron go because of Drew Timme. No, we're letting Dayron go because of Nick Claxton's contract. We can't afford to keep everybody. Alex, this is what I'm asking you: $25 million for Claxton next year, $10 million for Sharp, $35 million, and you don't have a starting center. So you have $35 million invested into the center position without a starting center. So now you have to draft your starting center. So now we're $35 million in. We're wasting a first-round pick that we hope turns into the starting center, right? Like this is a horrible. You guys understand that this is a horrible situation? You know what I'm saying? So you have $35 million invested into young centers, and you know you don't have your starting center. That's a problem. So I can't get rid of Claxton. I don't need to bring Sharp back. I'm not going to bring Sharp back because of the money. So I'm not getting rid of Sharp for Timme, but Timmy's the next man up, if that makes sense, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's why if our Bucks pick is stuck at 17, I think Thomas Sorber just makes a lot of sense. He could be maybe a power forward big on this team or be a center, and he gives you versatility, and his rebounding is pretty damn good. So if you have to get rid of Dayron, I would expect us, if Sorber's still on the board at pick 17, we get him because we need another big on this team. We cannot rely on Claxton to carry us as a starting center. Look what he did against Zubats yesterday. He had to grab on his jersey to stop him. Like, that's how bad Claxton's been this season.
Time. He gets big, but he looks like the JV guy trying to guard the best guy on the varsity team. He's like, this is not going to work, man.
Yeah.
How is Jamal hurting us? Because he's the highest paid player on the team, and he's not a starter quality player. I'm not saying he shouldn't be in the NBA. He's a backup center. He's a backup center who's making big-time starter money at $25 million a year, Jamal. That's how.
Right. And Jamal, the problem is the only way we could solve this Claxton problem if we had to keep him would be to get two superstars. But with the CBA being put in, we can't do that. We can't just get two superstars to make Claxton's numbers better, especially when he's making over 20 mil. Let's remember, he wasn't making 20 mil a few years ago when he was playing the best basketball of his career with three superstars. Now he's making over 27, 25 mil, and his numbers are still bad. So we would be near the second apron if we go after stars right now with keeping Claxton on this team. That doesn't work for us. So that's why you got to get off the contract this summer and just reset your center position. If we do this, the organization is actually doing a smart thing and saving us financial cap space and letting us actually figure out the center system with a new big. Claxton right now is just not a center. He's an undersized power forward that can guard 1 through 4 on occasion, but struggles mightily against fives. And we just can't deal with that. So if the Lakers can't get him this summer, we're kind of stuck with him at that point. But still, try to lower the asking price then if somebody wants Claxton this summer. That way we could save cap space, keep Dayron, and get a new big. It's very simple. It's just the front office needs to get out of this huge nightmare scenario they put us in. We're giving Claxton $100 million.
I want to address these two comments. That's only 22% of the cap. That's a lot for a backup center. 22% of the cap is a lot for a backup center. You're not getting an account because of the cap, but you have the most cap to spend. We went over this. We can go over this again. Dylan's really good at this. We'll go over it. The cap space is a mirage. It's an illusion. If you're going to keep Cam and you're going to keep Zaire, and I guess we're not keeping Sharp, there's not as much cap space as you think. That cap space gets filled up real quickly. And then you have 4 rookies you're going to have to sign. The cap space is not what you think it is. The money had to go somewhere. Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It had to go somewhere. It didn't have to go to him.
Right. And you know what the crazy thing is? We could have had $89 million cap space this year if we would have traded Claxton and Johnson before the deadline. That's what we were talking about. But he kept both of them, and now your cap space is down to $50 million. Like Gary said, it's a mirage. You re-sign Thomas, re-sign Zaire, and if you do keep Dayron, you have maybe like $10 million left. Like, that's not a lot to work with. So, yeah, keeping Claxton and Johnson on the team right now, they're anchors, just in the wrong way possible. So, if we could get off of them this summer and you take back expiring salaries, we will have extra cap space the following year to actually make bigger, better moves. But we can't right now because Claxton and Johnson are occupying over $40 million on the books.
So you're saying I haven't done the math on this. Claxton and Shaw. What does the cap go up to next year? 187. What is it next year? What is the salary cap next year? 178.
Take a look. I got to look it up.
I'll trust that you have the math done on this correctly. Like, that's not as bad as I thought. 22%. It still puts you in bad position. You're paying 22% of the salary cap. Going to you still don't have a starting set. You still don't have an NBA quality starting center. And so now you got to draft another one. Where are you going to draft another one? Tack that on, and now we're up to well over 25% of the cap. You're hoping the 19-year-old that you draft can play like a starting center at 19, which is probably not the case. Like, it's bad. And now you can't if you can get rid of him. Why wouldn't you get rid of him? That's kind of my question. I don't care what you get in return for him. That contract's got to go if we're going to rebuild this thing. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, you're so right about it. And there are some very interesting centers in this draft. You have Common Maluwak, Derek Queen, Maxime Renard, Thomas Sorber. Like, there are some interesting bigs that this team could invest in that can actually compete with the opposing bigs. Look at the way the NBA is going. That's the problem with the front office. You got to read the NBA, not just read your own team and always go with your decisions being the best decisions. Look what the NBA is doing with the Zach Edey's and all these other bigs now coming to the NBA, like Wembanyama. The Nets, with the small ball philosophy on an undersized big, is not going to win you a title or bring you close to contention. So if the Nets actually draft a 7-footer in this draft, maybe one of their late picks, we actually have something to cook with because we're not competing with other NBA teams. And you have to have the right pieces. Claxton, unfortunately, the only time you'll see him play his best is with superstars. And we can't just get superstars to make Claxton's numbers better when he's making over $25 million. That's just not a recipe for success.
We're going to be paying rookies, just the 4 first rounders, we're going to be paying him $18 million next year. So right off the bat, add that to the salary cap. We're going to pay Cam Thomas $25 million. Add that. So right there, we're at $43 million. Okay. We didn't get rid of Cam Johnson, so that contract's still on the books. And it's the money isn't what you think it is. We're going to have some cap space, and we're going to resign Zaire, and Zaire is going to demand $10 million, right? Like, this is what I'm saying. The money, the cap space is kind of a mirage. It's kind of an illusion.
Right, and that's why you shouldn't give D'Lo any 15 mil. Why are we giving him our cap space when we got him to get the cap space? That's what you and I said on the previous show, Gary. Why do we get his expiring contract if we're going to give him the cap space? It makes no sense for us. We should use that wisely for maybe a player that could fit this team's timeline, not a veteran player that's near the middle end of their career as far as a starter goes. Like, this front office needs to be smart this year with the cap space, because if you spend it on the wrong player, that's it. That's all the cap space there is. So the Nets have to be strategic this summer. But if Claxton and Johnson are off the books, then you have more cap space the following year. But if this organization keeps these two guys on the contract, cap space really isn't that valuable at that point.
So, Gary, you're saying you only want back an expiring contract for Clax. Otherwise, if you have to match the money, you're likely getting worse in the same situation. Yeah, I only want an expiring contract for Clax. Unless you're going to give me a good player. I'll take a good player. But I can't see anyone offering me a good player for Nick Claxton at this point on that contract. Can you, John?
Yeah, I don't. Listen, the only out is the Lakers because they have expiring contracts and they need a big.
What good player are they going to trade you? They'll trade you Rui, but they're not going to give you a good young player.
Yeah, as long as the player and second-round picks will take it at this point. Getting off his contract literally is what gives the Nets the win in this scenario, because you get the cap space in the expiring salary the following year. That's literally the big win of getting off Claxton's contract. There's no other teams that really want Claxton except maybe the Lakers. So if he's not traded to the Lakers, we're stuck with him at that point. And then you have to pivot, unfortunately, to get rid of a guy like Dayron, who one of you guys in the comments has just said has played better than Claxton this year. Like, it's so ass backwards if you have to keep Claxton, is what me and Gary are saying. Whereas you could get rid of the problem by getting rid of his contract.
And I think there's one, maybe Golden State. I think those are the two teams that you could trade him to, but they're not going to. They're looking to compete. They're not going to give you back a good player, right? They're taking on the contract. That's what they're giving you.
Right.
I don't think the Lakers are going to also give you Dalton Connect. Like,
Why would
no.
we want him though? He doesn't. He's an older player. He wouldn't even fit our timeline really. So I don't want him. I'll take the expiring contract and a
We're
late
saying,
pick.
what is Dalton Connect? 23. He's not old. How old
Well,
is
that's
Dalton
why they
Connect?
drafted him late. If he
He's
was like
old for a
18, I
rookie.
think it'd be a different situation.
Max Christie is gone. That's the piece I wanted from them. He's gone. How old is Dalton Connect? He's 23. But they're not giving us a player like that. They're not giving us a good player because they're trying to win and they're taking on a bad salary. They might give you back Jackson Hayes. Right?
He's expiring contract, so they wouldn't
Oh, yeah,
unless it
yeah,
was a
that's right.
signing trade. Yeah.
That's right.
Listen, just give us expiring salary and whatever picks we can get at this point. Just get off his contract. Like the Lakers are the only out with Claxton this summer. If that deal doesn't happen, we're stuck with Claxton at that point. And then it's like you have to hope he can regain his value the following year. But if we get way younger pieces and this team is way worse the following year, what can you really get for Claxton at that point? Probably nothing. So if Marks plays his cards right this summer and you could get rid of Claxton's contract, woo! Crisis avoided. But if not, we have to deal with that crisis. And what me and Gary is saying is you have a chance to get rid of that this summer by trading him to a team like the Lakers and starting fresh at center. We really do because Class is just he only going to play his best basketball with superstars, not with meager talent that we have right now. It's just not going to work. But by then, his value is already that bad. So if you get rid of him this summer, we actually have a lot more to work with at that point with expiring salary and whatever you can get back for him.
10 million for Zaire, 8 to 10. 10 might be the high end, but I think 8's the basement. I think 10 is the ceiling, 8's the basement. Is that inappropriate? He's been a good
I would
player.
even
He's been
say
a
10 to
rotational
12.
player. 10 to 12. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's agree anywhere from 8 as the floor to 12 as the ceiling. So
yeah, that's fine.
I don't think that's inappropriate. He's been a good player, a rotational guy. He's a bench guy. But here's my question: is Zaire Williams on the court in the final 5 minutes for a playoff team? Probably not. But does he
Right.
have a spot on a rotation for a playoff team? For sure. For sure.
Right.
Playoff teams would take him. He can guard your best player. He can hit the three a little bit. He's not starting. He's not closing the game for good teams. But he's got a spot in the rotation. So he's getting $10 million. That's a 10, you know what I'm saying? So there's going to be demand for him.
Right.
Teams must spend 90% of their salary cap each season to ensure, agreed. And the Nets, after they sign their rookies and re-sign Cam Thomas, they'll be at 90%. That's what I'm saying. The salary cap is not what you guys think it is. We got to pay 4 rookies. Right there, you're paying them 10, 3, that's 13. Assuming we draft where we are now. Let's say we draft 3, 17, 25, whatever it is, 28. That would be $13, $18 million in salary right there. Plus 25 for Cam. Plus another 10 for Zaire. If you resign Cam and Zaire, that's eating up a lot of you. You're still going to have some cap space, yes. You're still going to have some money to maneuver. But it's like back when we got Kyrie and KD, he had all this money. It's not that. It's you're going to have a few $1 million left over. It's
right.
Unless we can get rid of Cam or Claxton.
Right. And that
Cam or Claxton, then that changes everything.
it really does. Like if you could get rid of one of the $40 million that they're making together, then you only have 20 mil to deal with in the future. I know Jamal just said, well, what if Cooper plays with Claxton? Listen, if he has a point guard that could set him up for his shots, yes, it works. But at the end of the day, will Claxton actually play well against the best opposing bigs in a playoff situation? He cannot. He will get crushed by them unless he has superstars with him. But we can't go get after superstars because of the CBA and him making over 20 mil, and his numbers aren't that good. Like that's the problem, Jamal, is that his numbers aren't stacking up to the salary. And when he was with the superstars, he wasn't making over $20 million. So it's just not formidable for us to keep him right now. Listen, if Cooper could get his numbers up, okay, we'll deal with that. But Claxton's year was this year to prove to me, Gary, and others that he could handle a starter's role as far as evolving his game. Offensively, to do that this year. Defensively, went down a lot. I mean, getting cooked by Bismack Biyombo, I didn't expect to see that happen with Claxton, given what he's done the last few years. So it was definitely a shocker to see him regress as much as he did. And that's why I think the best way to get out of this, training to a team like the Lakers who have 2 superstars who could better utilize them, and we could just kind of reset at center and start fresh. I think that's our only best scenario right now as far as building up the center route goes.
You can keep Day'Ron Sharpe as your backup.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to keep Drew Timme to fill out your roster as a 2A guy or whatever, that's fine.
Works.
And then you can go get your center of the future. But right now, Nick Claxton, who sucks and can't be the center of the future, is your de facto center of the future because he's still fairly young. He's 26, 25. He'll be 26 next season. And you're paying him a ton of money. So that's your starting center moving forward. And that's a problem because he plays like a $10, $12 million guy when you're paying him 25. So you're overpaying him by double. You're paying him double what his actual value is. Like, it's a problem. And you're overpaying Cam Johnson a little bit. And you can't keep overpaying these guys when you're trying to rebuild. And like, these aren't guys that you can build. Cam Johnson is a guy that you can build with. If you have Zaire, if you have Giannis, you can build with him. It's a good piece to have. But he's not a guy that you can build. He's a role player making high-end money. But he doesn't offer you high-end production. He stands behind the three-point line and shoots threes. He does it well. And if you're good, it's like Chris Middleton, right? When Chris Middleton was he's on a good team. I can stand here and shoot threes. What else can you do? Well, at this stage in my career, all I can do is stand here and shoot threes. Klay Thompson, same thing. On a good team, there's some value. On a bad team, there's no value. And that's what he is on the Nets.
Right.
He doesn't. So,
and you think about it, Johnson is going to be 30 years old next year. How many iterations is he going to fit in this team when he's like 35 with Claxton? How many iterations is he going to fit? Is it at 30 when he's going to start cooking on this team? Like, Claxton's defense, the only thing that's really keeping him in the NBA. But as he gets older and he doesn't evolve his offensive game, that's when Claxton's career really is in jeopardy. That's what me and Gary have been saying. He needed to elevate his offensive game in order to have a long career in the NBA because the defense goes as you get older. We all know this with players. As you get older, the defense regresses, but you got to do what guys like Brook Lopez and Al Horford did. Offensively evolve your game to stay in the NBA. Both of them did that, and Gary, they won championships. Claxton's problem is he hasn't evolved his game, and the longer he waits to do it, the worse it's going to be as he gets older in his career. That's where you got to get off the contract, because I can't expect Claxton to start playing his best at age 27, 20, 29, 30 when he's still making all this money. It just doesn't make sense for us right now.
I want to, since we are on the Claxton, I'm gonna switch to this. We got two topics left. I want to switch to this.
Yeah, let's do that.
John Morant. I don't know what's going on over in Memphis. I don't know if that. Maybe you have some information on it, but that was shocking. It wasn't Luka shocking, but it was fairly shocking. Memphis fired their head coach out of nowhere. They're playing well. John Morant, is he now going to look to be moved? If he's going to be looked to be moved, his two buddies both play here. Is John Morant to Brooklyn? Does that have legs to it? Is there a possibility of that?
With all the dominoes that could fall this summer, the biggest one now could be, where will the Jomino fall this summer? Because everybody wants to know. Because that was shocking yesterday. It's rare, Gary, and we looked this up the other day. It's rare that a coach gets fired with 7 games to go before the playoffs. But listening to everybody was saying yesterday, apparently this was more of a philosophical issue than John Morant hating Taylor Jenkins, because he didn't hate him to that degree. But basically what happened was this year, the Memphis front office took full control of the coaching staff. They basically fired all of Jenkins' staff. They hired a whole new staff, and they basically gave him an offensive scheme playlist to follow. That means Jenkins had no control over what happened this year. But when John went down with injury, apparently Jenkins went back to his old schemes, and after that he got fired for it. And apparently John Morant, he played his best basketball in the old schemes. But I think the problem was with his injury situation, I think the front office wanted to take the burden off of Ja by having this new offensive scheme. But looking at the highlights yesterday, when you have Ja standing outside the three-point line and everybody else is doing the offense, he's not running the offense with pick and rolls. That's like, damn, Ja Morant's your best player on the team, and you're taking away half of his offensive game. So apparently Ja Morant, who was sleeping when this news happened, has not been happy about the new offensive scheme that the front office is demanding and basically overriding the coach and the superstar. So, yeah, this situation could get very dicey. If the coach didn't want to follow that scheme and John Morant doesn't follow that scheme, there could definitely be a potential reality where John Morant asks out the next year or two potentially, because the front office is taking full control of that situation. But with John Morant, man, you can't have John Morant play half basketball on that team when he wants to play his own offense. So I definitely think the front office shot themselves in the foot. And let's remember, they had a bad trade deadline. They couldn't get Doe. They didn't want to, they didn't want to take the protection off the picks. They wanted Jimmy Butler. He wanted nowhere to be with them. So I think Memphis had a lot of cracks the last few years, and he just got magnified with the firing of Jenkins. And if John Morant's not happy with the front office taking control of the offensive schemes, I definitely think there's a lot of dysfunction and decombustion about to happen in Memphis. So yeah, this could be the summer where Ja's name could be on the block.
The irony here is outstanding. We've done nothing but talk about trading Nick Claxton. But if you want to bring Ja in, Nick Claxton's a major reason why, because those are his buddies. He wants to go play in the big city with his buddies. Because like the same reason why Zion wanted to play with RJ and Cam, right? Like he wants to play with his buddies in New York City. Like what would be more fun than that? So, as much as we talked about trading Nick Claxton, is Nick Claxton actually the important piece in getting Ja to come to Brooklyn?
That's the wild thing, because I knew when this topic came up, everything I talk bad about Claxton, I'm gonna have to be like, maybe there's a small chance that the Claxton stock has a little lifeline to it. But you think about this: Zaire and Claxton, two of his best friends, two of his brothers. Yeah. I call them the Ja-tourage, because that's what they essentially would be if he was recruited to this team. You think about this with Ja Morant; he has shown you that he works well with the big men. He can dish out a lot of lobs, and Claxton, if he's still on his team because we get Ja, that combination could be definitely lethal, because you'll see Claxton offensively get back to what he was doing. So, yeah, the only reason I might reconsider keeping Claxton on his team is if Ja Morant was available and he came to the team. You think about this, too. We're trying to build culture, foundation, structure. Having Ja play with two people that he trusts and that he believes in, that's how you start building a real system, because you have players that want to play with each other. So, yeah, that could definitely be a potential reality if Ja Morant came to this team. Would Claxton be a reason behind that? Yeah, because John Claxton have played in their young careers together, and they would want to play in the NBA together. So could a Ja and Claxton combo be something realistic? It definitely could be, because if Ja comes to his team, he's going to have his say in who he feels like he wants to play with, which would make things very interesting. Could Claxton resurrect his career if Ja Morant's on his team? We'd have to see if it happens, if he gets moved.
All right. So now are we keeping Claxton in hopes to land Ja? Or are you out on Ja? I'm saying no, I don't want Ja that much.
See, that's the thing. This thing about Ja is I can understand why the front office kind of overrided Ja, because they worried about his health. The previous offensive system, the guy was putting his body on the line almost every play. So maybe their mind was, we got to keep Ja healthy by having him not be in all the plays. But here's the thing. If that's the case, why not get a second superstar to pair with Ja? And that was Memphis' problem at the deadline. They couldn't get Doe, a good veteran who could have brought him a lot of defensive grit, and they couldn't get Butler, who didn't want to be anywhere near them, because a lot of players have heard about a lot of dysfunction and immaturity in Memphis the last few years. So by Memphis not getting a secondary star to pair with Ja, this new offensive scheme actually doesn't make as much sense as some people want it to make sense. If Ja can't run the offense the way he wants to run it, you don't have a second star there to help with that. What do you do in Memphis at that point? So I definitely think that there could be a potential chance Ja does become on the trade block, but his health is also a huge worry. I get Derrick Rose vibes with his injury situation. So I'm not dead set on us going after Ja this summer, but if he's available, of course you got to make an offer. And if that means keeping Claxton, I'll entertain it. But I'm not going to be going dead set after Ja just because I want to keep Claxton on this team or keep Claxton happy. If that's not going to happen this summer, trade Claxton. But if we're stuck with Claxton, Gary, and Ja's available the following year, that's when the wheels start turning. So yeah, guys, if Claxton is on his team this past summer, Ja would be my only reason for wanting to keep Claxton at that point.
It's one of those things. Well, I guess we'll keep him because he's who he's friends with. All right, here's what I want to read. John texted me this yesterday. I think this is too much. I don't. This is like here. This is what John texted me. Cam Thomas, sign and trade. Cam Johnson, and 4 1s. That's a lot to me, John. So if you say Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson is worth 3 1s, right? Like the value there is 3 1. You're giving up 7 first rounders in essence, right? If you say, this is a lot to me. Like I think we've reached our max here. I might roll this back to 3 1s. Cam, and 3 1s. The 4 1, I think you're kind of asking for a bit much.
Listen. I was set on the 3 first, but remember, they always might want a little extra something, so I have to swap there just in case. But 3 first, I think, would be the max. And I don't want to say we have to offer Thomas, but you think about it. If Claxton's on this team, who's the odd man out? Cam Thomas, unfortunately. And if we sign him to a fair bargain deal, he becomes the most attractive trade chip. And if we do want Ja, they're not going to want, whoever we draft this year. They're going to want a guy that has skill and has some type of resume in the league. And Thomas has a bit of a resume as far as his scoring goes. So unfortunately, he would be the odd man out in that signing trade, and Johnson would just be a salary filler at that point. So Thomas and 3 firsts, that's a pretty tempting offer that we could offer for Ja. And it's not because I want to get rid of Thomas, but what are other options? He's not going to want to get rid of Clax because that's his guy. Zaire's not going anywhere. So the other asset we have would be Thomas. And if the other guys we draft are really good, we're probably not going to want to give them up for Ja. So it just seems like Thomas would be the odd man out in the deal. But yeah, I agree. 3 firsts would probably be a max.
I have an idea here, and this is my plan. This is going to be our last topic. Then we got to close out because John's got to go watch his broke ass Yankees lose today.
Oh yeah, just like Mets gonna get crushed.
That's one last time. That's a 1-1. We're on the winning side.
For now.
For now. So here's what I'm thinking, and let me know what you guys think. I would trade the Rockets pick and the Knicks pick in the John Morant trade. Then I would trade Cam Johnson and the Bucks pick, which is all the way up to 17 now, which we're going to talk about in a second, to the Spurs to move up and get their pick. So I would draft twice high. I would draft my pick and the Spurs pick and trade the other picks for John Morant and CJ. For John Morant, and then also trade Cam Johnson. Wait, but I can't trade Cam Johnson now because I've already traded Cam. I didn't think this through, John. I did not think this through. Never mind. I can't actually.
That's why I tried to think it through.
I traded Cam Johnson twice in my hypothetical. Never mind. I had this all planned out, and then I didn't think about it at all. So would you be willing to? I guess I'm going to sit and pick at 17 then. So I would pick with our pick, let's say 5, 17, and then I would trade the other 2 picks for John.
I think some of our picks in this draft we could use potentially to get Ja, and I think 3 firsts and Thomas would be definitely a enticing offer because I don't think a whole lot of teams are going to want to go after Ja just because of his health and because of the baggage. But us, I don't think we mind that because we need a star player eventually to unite whatever we're trying to build here. So, and you already have Claxton and Zaire, 2 guys he's close to. So I think a deal around Thomas, Johnson, and 3 firsts is a very good bargain. If we use 2 of our late picks, I think we give them Memphis advantage. And they already have young talent. So let's remember, they got Gigi Jackson, they got Zachy, they have some young players, Vince Williams. They have a little young core there as a backup if the John Morant thing, breaks down like it's looking like it's going to. So we don't have to give up a crazy haul for John Morant. Unfortunately, Thomas would probably be the biggest asset we give up in that deal. And like Dylan said, if you have a chance to get John Morant for Cam Thomas, you probably do it most of the time because what else you can do at that point? As good as Thomas is, does this front office trust Cam Thomas? We don't know. And if Thomas gets re-signed this summer, next year is his most important year of his career. He has to show he can play more than 50 to 60 games and hold down his starter's role. So I feel like Thomas' future is still in question. And if a guy like John Morant wants to come to Brooklyn and play with guys that he trusts, and him and Jordan, if they can figure out how to rehash their little beef and fix that up, that would be great too. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Thomas for Ja would probably be the deal in essence, essentially. So would Brooklyn do it? Probably.
Yeah, I would for sure. And if Memphis needs to blow this up, then it's a really good package for John Morant. And I don't know what other teams have a better package than that who'd be willing to trade for him, right? Like if you already have an all-star guard, you're probably not going to trade for him. So that would knock out a lot of playoff contenders. Like the Knicks would have no interest in him. The Celtics would have no interest in him. The Thunder would have no interest in him, right? Because it just doesn't fit what they're doing. He's a great player, obviously, but he doesn't fit in what they're doing. So who would San Antonio? But would San Antonio bring him in? Yeah. Like there'd be other teams, but the Nets would be on a short list of teams with a really good package.
Right. And here's another thing this summer. Kevin Durant is going to be the biggest name this summer again in trade rumors. And I just heard something that San Antonio might want to pair Kevin Durant with Wemby and Fox. So at the end of the day, there are a lot of teams that are looking at Kevin Durant.
You're right. So they would be out too. Like the list would not be as long as you think it would be, right? Like we would have a real chance to land him if that was the case. You're right. They did just get De'Aaron Fox.
Right. And if you're Memphis, you probably don't want to trade Ja in the West because the West is so damn crazy as it is. So you look at teams in the East. What teams in the East have flexibility to get Ja Morant? Brooklyn does. And look at all the other teams, Bulls, Hornets. Does Ja really want to go over there right now? Probably not. At least with the coaching staff this year, we've shown that they can actually come up with game plans and execute some of their game plans with lesser talent. So Ja would fit in this system. If him and Jordy could, fix up that little beef they had a few months ago, I think Jordy would like coach somebody like Ja because he would probably run the offense through him, but he'd make sure to try to protect him by having a balanced team. So, yeah, if we get John Morant in a year or two, he definitely fits the timeline. And as much as I'm worried about his health, you probably would get a second star eventually to pair with Ja. So you could essentially build around Ja. There's a risk there, of course, but still, if you already have Claxton and Zaire here, Claxton, man, I can't believe I'm a little bit on Claxton's side. But to our point, if Claxton's not traded this summer, we're kind of stuck with him. How can you utilize Claxton's value? Recruiting a guy that he's close to that's a star in this league.
All right, I want to address this, John. Milwaukee firmly in that 17 spot now. That's our pick. Woo. That's looking good, and we're by ourselves. Now, we still got a ways to go. Right, it's only half a game, but we are in the 5th spot by ourselves. 3 games behind New Orleans. That's still a long shot. That's probably not going to happen, but it's still on the table. New Orleans is winning games. Zion's playing great for them. How do you feel right now, and what do you want to do with this 17th pick? Do you want to try to trade it and move up? I've always had my eye on San Antonio. Trade it to San Antonio with Cam Johnson to move up. But what do you want to do with the 17th pick right now, which looks better and better every day?
Ooh, can I just say this Bucks pick? I call it our pot of gold pick because that's what it's shaping up to be. And last night was a perfect night for the Bucks pick.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys got so happy last night, like I talked about a little bit at the beginning of this video, Detroit beat the Cavs, Minnesota beat the Suns. How ironic is it? The Knicks, who gave us all these picks for the Bridges hole, and essentially said we weren't going to get a under 20 pick. Well, the Bucks picks around 17, so it is looking better and better by the day. And the Bucks have some tough games, and with Damian Lillard, prayers to Dame, hope he gets better. With him out, Giannis is starting to feel the burn because he was carrying that team a lot this year, and that team looks a little gassed, especially with some still tough opponents then this season. So if that pick stays at 17, to Gary's question, we have different routes to go with this Bucks pick. We could draft somebody around there with that Bucks pick, a Thomas Sorber, Igor Demon, Boogie Fleming, Drake Powell, Maxine Renard. Like, there's some very interesting prospects that are going to be in that top 20 or around 17 to 20 bracket that could be potential building block pieces. But just like Gary said, we could potentially trade up with that Bucks pick. Could we attach it to a Cam Johnson, one of our Rockets or Knicks picks to move up in this draft? You definitely could. And a team like the Spurs or OKC who want to compete and contend for a title, if they're willing to trade expiring salary or a contract on their team with their lottery pick for Johnson, the Bucks pick, and one of those late picks, we could definitely potentially walk away with 2 lottery picks in this draft. So yeah, Gary, that Bucks pick is looking really, really good because we could draft a solid building block with that pick, or we could trade up to come away with a second lottery pick. Our best case scenario on draft night would be walking away with 2 lottery picks. That's really how you run the gauntlet on draft night and put on a masterclass. And Mark could use that Bucks pick to its full value night. We definitely are in a better position going into summer as far as building up the core goes.
Yeah, and I want to address this. Ja to BK would be god awful. Ja would not listen to Jordy at all and get him fired. I don't know what makes you think that. Like, Jordy, Ja played. He played for Taylor Jenkins almost his whole career, right? Did they have any other coach? I mean, he
for 6 years. For 6 years. And to be honest with you, Taylor Jenkins reminds me a lot of Jordy as far as culture, developing a program, winning intangibles. Like, so if Ja came with Jordy, I know they had a little beef a few months ago, but that's just trash talk. That's what that was. And I think if Ja was on his team, Jordy would run the offense through him, and he would allow Jordy to Jordy would allow Ja to dispense the ball and get people involved. But Ja wants to run the offense and be involved. I don't think Jordy would have a problem with that. I think Jordy would actually thrive having somebody that wants to be a main part of the offense and contribute as much as Ja wants to. So that wouldn't be a problem. And Ja's been on his best behavior the last 2 years. So as much as we were worried about would his bad behavior come back, so far it hasn't. And Ja right now just wants to run offense. He doesn't want to be part of a scheme where he can't run the system on his own accord. I don't think Jordy would stop him on that.
Here's the problem with trading for Ja. if we trade him, we trade our 2 other good players in Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson, which is okay. Most likely. You still have Claxton's bad contract, and your team is still god awful. Right? I understand it could be better for the future if we got, let's say, at 5 we drafted. Who do you want to draft at 5 and 17? Sorber, and let's say we got something good. Let's say we drafted 4 and got Ace Bailey. Let's be optimistic about this. And then we got Sorber. Who do you want to draft hypothetically at 17?
Yeah. Right now, my mind would be at Silver just because we need a big right now.
Okay. So let's say we drafted Sorber, and Sorber's your backup 5 because Claxton's starting. And then Ace would be 18 years old. So he would not be that good yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have something in place, but you're still bad in the immediate future. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I even say this, as far as Ja's availability goes, I think the following year we could be in line to make moves. Say we can't trade Claxton, then the whole game plan changes. How can we utilize Claxton somehow as far as paying his last 2 years? Getting Ja Morant if he's available. If you pair Ja with Ace Bailey, that would be a fun combination. And then you have Thomas Sorber and Claxton, who are your 2 bigs, who Ja could dispense the ball to. There's the formulation of some type of structure under Ja. So yeah, there is some worry with the health and his behavior. But if you have the pieces and you start building this the right way, and Ja's like, hey, I want to be here, then we have something we can run with. So, yeah, there's some worry there with Ja, but there's also some upside if you get the right pieces to fit around Ja and what he can do.
All right, John, I know you got to run to what you want to go watch your broke-ass Yankees lose.
Yeah, it's
so
like
I'll
a
let you know.
mess. Nah, this is a lot of fun today. It was a lot of fun today. Sorry about the technical difficulties you have, but yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah.
And I know some people are very upset with the way his team is ending the season, but guys, this is kind of what was on par for the season, and it's almost over. This summer is where the real fun starts with Brooklyn, because we have our first ever lottery pick in Brooklyn. That's history. Whoever we draft, that's history. You can't change it. And this Bucks pick is looking very valuable. We can go in so many different directions with this Bucks pick. So if we hit on both these top picks on draft night, we have a lot to cook with. And then free agency comes, and we have to figure out who's fitting on this team, who does fit on this team. So there's a lot to be excited about this summer. Yes, season's going to end on a sour note, but this summer is where the real work starts with Brooklyn. And let's just be a part of it, and let's hope this front office starts making the right moves and just starts building structure. So let's go Brooklyn, man.
All right, John. Appreciate you. We got a game tonight. You want to go live again Sunday?
I'm gonna try to. I might be a little busy with family, but what time are you thinking tomorrow?
3 p.m.
Okay, we can come off for a little bit on tomorrow. Okay.
I think Dylan should be able to join us too, so we should have a good show.
All right.
We'll see you guys tomorrow at 3 p.m. It's March 29th, 2025, from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.
Peace.